closest finish in the vast and storied history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In 105 years of racing at the legendary Brickyard, the margin had never been tighter.
It was so close, and you can really hear the fans from the cockpit going crazy.
Here comes Dipsy. Dipsy's going to go 4 wide. It's going to be. Oh, Dipsy won it. Oh, Dipsy won it.
Victory by just 2 1/1000ths of a second, less than the blink of an eye.
It's the best finish that I've ever been in, but it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to come so close to winning that race.
Closer than Goodyear was to Unser Jr. in 1992 and Andretti to Hornish in 2006. Victory at Indy by a scant sliver and a 4-wide storm to the line, itself covered by 4 100ths of a second. A year on, some of the faces have changed, but the passion for victory at Indianapolis endures. Who next will add his name to the illustrious list of winners on this hallowed ground? The Indy Lights Championship, presented by Cooper Tires Freedom 100 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is next. We are 2 days away from the greatest spectacle in racing, and the biggest weekend in motorsports is in full swing. Carb Day coverage continues on NBCSN. Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Freedom 100. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. I'm Kevin Lee, along with former Indy Lights driver Anders Krohn. We can talk about who's going to win and who the favorites are and where the season championship is at. Yes, we're always thinking championship, but this is the big one, the one that everyone in this series wants to win.
This really is, Kevin, and I was just looking at those footages there from last year. Just an amazing finish, and all these drivers are going to be gunning for it because they know, championship or no championship, this is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you know what? They all want to win it.
Now, when we talk about who has the best chance, we can kind of cross off what's happened so far because this is the first oval, so the setups and the drivers don't necessarily apply.
Everything is completely different, and you know what? That's what's so nice about Indy Lights and IndyCar as well. The drivers have to be diverse. They have to do ovals, road courses, and street circuits. They really have to know it all.
Well, it's going to be fantastic to see what happens. Can we get 4 wide again? Well, they haven't widened the track, but we'll give it a shot, and I know it's going to be entertaining. To the third member of our broadcast team, actually 4 today. Let's go down to pit road. Here's Jake Query.
See a 4-wide finish here, but it remains to be seen if that will be the case or not. Right now, we make the transition as the Verizon IndyCar Series cars move off this famed 2.5-mile oval, and of course then the Indy Lights cars presented by Cooper Tires will make their way on. One of the incidents that you just saw here on the NBC Sports Network, of course, Sage Karam making contact during that practice session in the Verizon IndyCar Series Carb Day, getting set for the 98th Indy 500. Keep in mind, he of course came through this Mazda Road to Indy. The system clearly works, Kevin, because you look through the top speeds in that practice session, and the majority of drivers in that top 10 all came through in the Indy Lights. Will we see someone today put their name into the history books at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and work their way into the 99th Indy 500? It's one of the exciting storylines to watch. Now to another member here on pit road. Here's Jan Bikas.
Well, thank you, Jake. And of course, because of the practice session for IndyCar, the Indy Lights machines are just now rolling into position. And of course, one of the things when you go into a race like this that can be so frantic is for Zach Veach. He leads the championship, and you have to think, okay, I only lead the championship by 4. How big of a risk do I take? Because we know how hectic it can be. You have to think, okay, championship lead, how hard do I push? And so much on pushing comes from fitness. And he, Zach Veach, was one of the subjects in a special feature done by the team to look at Anders Krohn and his look at Indy Lights driver fitness.
With a higher level of competition, faster cars, and tougher tracks than ever seen before, there's no excuse for the Indy Lights drivers but to be some of the fittest athletes on the planet. And in order to build this fitness, most Indy Lights drivers now reside in Indianapolis, where they have full-time support from racing-specific training centers, such as Fit Training.
Training as a race car driver is very different than training in your normal training program. We do a lot of work on the neck, core stability, reaction training is very important. These are traits, characteristics of a good race car driver. So therefore, if we can work to enhance these characteristics of a race car driver, they'll be better, faster, and safer in the car.
I've had my own training program at home in Ohio, but you just realize how tough that it is there and how developed it is for being in a racing car. And it's very hard to replicate that anywhere else but Indianapolis.
The physical exertion required to drive a race car is like that of no other sport. And that exertion must often be delivered under the extreme demands of heat and speed. Imagine 200 miles an hour through a winding Death Valley Canyon while being pursued by 15 others. In other words, nothing trains for racing quite like racing itself. And with limited track time, drivers must seek alternative methods.
I flew F-16s with the Air Force for 10 years, and for 3 of those years I was a mission commander and also a formally trained instructor pilot. And what I've done then is I've taken the discipline and the structure from military and commercial aviation and adapted that to training methods for motorsports.
To that end, PitFit has partnered with Racecraft One Motorsports Training to create a specialized program that incorporates racing seat time into traditional fitness routines.
It's critical that you basically put a driver into a situation that is very similar to what they go through in the race car.
Now the drivers can train and get their heart rate up through physical exertion and then jump right into the hot top simulators and practice hot lapping. This gives them the advantage of driving with the same physiological stresses that they have at the actual race. So that's what's very unique about it here.
As the world of motorsports grows ever more competitive, the opportunities to gain a performance edge diminish. That search continues, however, as drivers push themselves to their edge to ensure that physical exhaustion is not the determining factor in their race, or in the case of these rising stars, their career.
In 2013, we not only produced Indy Lights champion with Sage Karam, but also the 2013 IndyCar champion Scott Dixon, who ironically started with us in 1999 in the Indy Lights program. So we have a rich history with the Mazda Road to Indy all the way up.
Biggest weekend in motorsports continues on NBCSN. We're underway. 30 hours of motorsports coverage this weekend on NBCN. And also more on NBC, including the Grand Prix of Monaco coming up on Sunday morning. It's the Freedom 100 Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Carb Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Anders Krohn. I'm Kevin Lee. Anders, you came over to race in America, and we see all of the nations that are represented here in this event. This is the dream to get to the Indy 500. That's why they're here.
You know, not to sound sad or anything, but it really is the American dream. That's why all these people come over here to race in the Freedom 100 and then eventually to get into the Indy 500. And if you win here today, you put yourself in a great position.
Well, it is a fantastic day. The weather could not be any better, and the forecast is brilliant for the weekend as well. We're about ready to get started. Trackside now for the opening ceremonies for the Freedom 100.
Race fans, please welcome IndyCar Ministries Director Bob Hills to issue today's invocation.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for an awesome day of weather to have a great race. We ask your blessing of safety to be with our drivers with Indy Lights. We thank you for them and ask that you'll watch over them and their teams, our safety team, our officials, and our great fans. Father, we thank you, and we thank you for the freedom that we enjoy in our country to have such a gathering, and for the privileges that we have here. We pray all these in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you now please rise, remove your caps, and join Nashville recording artist Harry Lee for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Nashville recording artist Harry Lee.
Look at that crowd. It's party day in Indianapolis. This is our official day to enjoy, celebrate, and get ready for the greatest spectacle in racing, which is 2 days away. And this one is a big one, too. An Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Anders, the championship is very tight right now, and the pole sitter is starting in the second position and won the most recent race.
Exactly, but this is Luis Garcia's first oval ever. He's never been on the super speedway or any type of oval before. Zach Veach has, so this is Zach Veach's chance to capitalize.
Well, Garcia has made up a lot of points to get to second in the championship. He'll lead the field today. But Jake Query is down on pit road with the guy who still has the advantage in the championship.
That is correct. A slim advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. Zach Veach will roll off actually one spot higher than where he finished here in the Freedom 100 a year ago. But with that points lead, Zach, how much is that in your mind as you go out there? And does it affect at all the conservative nature of which you might try to take there?
Yeah, well, I mean, this race is just always so crazy. I think anybody that watched it last year knows that. So there's just so much that can happen. We just got to make sure we put ourselves in the right position. It's not a race you win on the first lap here, so definitely going to take our time and just be there on lap 39 when it matters.
What's the trickiest portion of this course? Because a lot of drivers say every turn is different.
Yeah, well, I think turn one, definitely everybody talks about that, but just here, it's kind of a pack race in Indy Lights. Everybody's really close together, so you really have to have a lot of respect with the guys that you're racing with, and I think the Replay XD car has a great advantage, and I hope to be up there at the end of the day.
Big crowd on hand. They want to see another great race. Zach Veach will be one of the guys putting on the show here for him in the Indy Lights. Jan Beekes.
And I happen to be with the reigning Indy Lights champion, of course, from last year, Sage Karam. And he, funny enough, making his IndyCar debut at just one little race, the Indianapolis 500. But wow, what a big moment you had out there in Carb Day. What happened?
Yeah, no, we came into Carb Day feeling real good about the car. I mean, car's been good in race trim. And, you know, I'm here looking at it now, see my moment for the, oh, yeah, that was a big moment. So, that was a big save. That was the biggest save of my life. You know, we got away with just very light damage. I literally just, like, bent a few uprights, but that was it. So I think the car is going to be good to get in the pit stop competition here in a bit. But no, it's unfortunate. I mean, the car's really good. It was fast up until that point. No, there's no reason we shouldn't go to the front in this race.
That's the first time you have seen that replay. And, of course, now we're getting ready for the Indy Lights Freedom 100. How much, in running in close quarters, did Indy Lights prepare you for what you're going to have on Sunday?
Yeah, no, this race was the best race last year, that's for sure. The finish says it all. You know, I don't really know what to expect with these guys with the new tires they got going on. You know, it's hard to tell when you don't drive the car, but, you know, I'm sure these guys will put on a good show and keep it close like last year, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of lead changes and stuff. But as far as going to the next level, no, it transfers a little bit, you know, dealing with air and everything, but there's nothing that can really prepare you for when you're going 230 miles an hour and somebody takes the air off your wing.
And he definitely learned a valuable lesson today. Remember that Sage Karam now is the 7th Indy Lights champion that will take the green flag come Sunday. Kevin?
And one of 19 in the 500 that have participated in race before in Indy Lights. So it clearly is getting the job done. Well, we're not far away from starting engines. The Freedom 100 part of Carb Day. It's Indianapolis 500 weekend. A great weekend in motorsports here on NBCSN. Well, there's not a lot of productivity today in Indianapolis because an awful lot of people called in sick today. It's Carb Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Good crowd, and we are nearly ready to race. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Thanks for joining us with Anders Krohn, Jake Query, and Jan Beekes. I'm Kevin Lee. The weather could not be any better. Perfect conditions, and we're ready to fire them up. Let's go trackside for the command.
All right, race fans, it's that time. Please welcome Barry Garwood, Indianapolis manager for Allied Building Products, to issue today's command.
Drivers, start your engines.
We've got 3 onboards to enjoy today as we get set to pace them. This is Matthew Brabham, 3rd in the championship, make that 5th in the championship. He'll start 3rd today. Chase Austin making his first start of the season in the 0 car. And there's the points leader, 2nd in points, and he is the pole sitter today, Luis Garcia, who won here a couple of weeks ago on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The Speedway thanks all of you for coming out today and having a great final practice for the
Nearly ready to release, and we'll start 40 laps, 100 miles. Race number 7 of 14 this year. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. And the first time They have raced on the oval, and a great opportunity to let people know about the Mazda Road to Indy. Up front, that's a USF 2000 car, the first step on the Mazda Road to Indy ladder. And then there's Spencer Piggott in the Pro Mazda car, and they will be racing here this weekend, tomorrow night, at Lucas Oil Raceway, part of the traditional night before the 500 that features USAC National Midgets. They get to race on that little oval over there, and you've done that before. That's a lot of fun, Anderson.
It really is, and it's just a great chance for Spencer Piggott and R.C. Enerson here to display themselves in front of the huge Freedom 100 crowd. And I was just thinking back to when I did the Freedom 100 a few years ago, the goosebumps that I had on my entire body as that national anthem wraps up. But then as soon as you get belted into that car, that's when you get into the game zone, and that's where these guys are right now.
Let's find out how they're going to start here today. The grid for the 12th Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway stacks up like this. Luis Rizia on the inside, and then his teammate Jack Harvey is on the outside of row number 1. Matthew Brabham and Zach Veach, another pair of teammates, in row number 2. Row 3 has Gabby Chavez from Bilardo Auto Racing and another Schmidt-Peterson car, Juan Pablo Garcia. They've won this race at Schmidt 7 times. Chase Austin, he's driven stock cars in Nationwide in the Truck Series. This will be his 4th straight start here in the Freedom 100. And then Juan Piedrahita, also in a Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports car. Alex Barron of Bilardi, and Scott Anderson from Fan Force United. And Zach Meyer rounds out the field here today. It's time now to find out the keys to this race with Anders Insider.
Well, Kevin, you know what? The biggest story note here today is the fact that we have 3 rookies on the front positions here for this race. This could be incredible, and these guys haven't raced here, so they might be a little uncertain of how to operate their cars in the opening laps of the race. The second part is the air density here is a lot different to what it was than during the open test earlier this month. Air density plays a huge role in the overall balance of the car, but also how the cars draft up to each other. So there's a huge level of uncertainty. And the final point is the Cooper tires. They've done an outstanding job so far coming into the series with doing road courses and street circuit very, very well so far. But this is the first oval, and guess what? It's the biggest one.
Next time by, we'll go green down the pit road with Jake.
Anders was just talking about the conditions. Spectacular day here in central Indiana. As a matter of fact, that air is not humid really at all, which is what's great right now. The track temperature is 112 degrees, ambient temperature 68 degrees under very little cloud cover here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Not much of a breeze either, but when there is, that comes out of turn number 4. The one thing, Kevin, that these drivers have is, keep in mind, these are virtually the same conditions in which they qualified. So they should have a pretty good idea how those cars are going to be able to perform under these conditions today. About to go green here, Kevin Lee.
Johnny Rutherford, the 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner in the Chevy Camaro pace car, will pull off in just a moment. They begin to form up on the backstretch. Cannot wait to see how this one plays out. Last year is going to be difficult to top, but taking a look at practice this week, they're going to give it a good go. A lot of slicing and dicing.
The tension is so high. You could feel it in the driver meeting this morning. They all gathered, but none of them really wanted to look each other in the eye because they know they're about to battle it out like fighter pilots, and here we go.
Up to this point, maybe the biggest moment in these young drivers' career. Rizia, the pole sitter in the Lucas Oil car, the white one with red on the inside. The red nose, the blue rear wing, that's Jack Harvey on the outside. And we are green at Indianapolis for the free. No, we'll wave it off. No starts.
Just came out of formation a little bit too quickly there. They typically want them to be in formation across the start-finish line, and that's when they'll let the start go there. It's a little bit too antsy. We can see Gabby Chavez there back in the 5th position, filing out already really, really quickly.
Let's look back at this restart one more time. I applaud the decision, and sometimes you're reluctant to throw that yellow, but give everybody a fair shake. And
actually, that's Alex Barron there popping out initially, and then Gabby Chavez trying to get the run there. And you can just tell that these guys want to get this started.
And they wanted to think about 5 wide at the beginning, or at least 4 wide. What's protocol here? Does the leader control the start?
The leader controls the initial acceleration, but the problem as the leader is you're breaking all that air, and it's so easy to draft up on someone here. So protecting your lead on lap 1 is nigh on impossible. So I think we're going to see coming out of turn 2 here that we have a different leader than Luis Rizia.
So they'll start forming up again at the north end of the 2.5-mile oval. Rizia holding down the pace. He wants to dictate the start of this race and get the early jump. Rizia and Harvey in the front row, Brabham and Veach in the second row, teammates. On row 1, in row 2, keep an eye on Gabby Chavez. He has the experience. He's the only one in this race, a part of the 4-wide finish last year, lost by just a few inches. It is green, and we are racing in Indianapolis in the Freedom 100 with Indy Lights. They race down into turn number 1. Rizia still has the advantage. Brabham is right on his tail. Brabham to the inside of Jack Harvey. Harvey holds on to into second. Brabham slots into third. Then it's Zach Veach and Gabby Chavez.
They tried 3 wide and almost went 4 wide there going into turn 1, but they all thought better of it and thought, hey, we have 40 laps to get this done. It's 100 miles, so we have the time to get it done here. And I think in the initial phase of this race, you'll see a lot of these guys just try to feel their way out. Where does my car work? Can I run the high line? Can I run the low line? How does it work in traffic and in the draft?
A half a lap in, the front 5 have checked out a little bit. Impressive to get through that first corner. You know you can't win it and you can lose it, but that's easier said than done because this is an opportunity to make up positions.
It exactly is, and it's so easy when you're a driver sitting in the 4th or the 5th row and you see the leader is right there. So you want to be aggressive, you want to do something, but obviously these guys have done a good job so far, just playing it a little bit smart. As we see here, Gabby Chavez, I talked to him in the driver meeting before the race today, and he said he was so confident. He was actually wearing a red bandana to show his attack level today, so he is definitely going to be one to watch here. As we see the Andretti teammates here fighting it out with Zach Veach looking on the outside of Matthew Brabham.
Veach in the red and white car, the Replay XD car. That's on board with Matthew Brabham, his teammate, and they are side by side down the backstretch. Gabby Chavez has the great vantage points.
Gabby Chavez is going to try and take advantage of this here. He's going to try and suck up in the double draft. You get a way better draft effect there. As we hear Matthew Brabham having an upshift up to 6th gear there. Already starting to see pack racing, and guess what? We're only 10% through the race.
Chavez alongside into turn 1 and still trying to go side by side through the South Chute.
If I was Chavez, I would back out just a little bit here because they do not want to lose the draft of the lead pack here. As we saw, as soon as they went side by side, they lost a little bit of advantage to the group ahead. They can't afford to be doing that again if they're going to have a chance of winning this race. As we see Matthew Brabham, clearly the quickest guy on track at the moment, slotting into second there.
Matthew Brabham got his first win in the first of the 2 races here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course, and he is gaining on Luis Rezia.
Getting a huge draft there, and that is the perfect gap you want. You want to leave yourself just a little bit of room to gain that momentum. He's going to have a look here on the inside. He gets in the rev limiter, loses a little bit of speed, but still has that position, and Luis Rezia doesn't squeeze unnecessarily. Great move there for Brabham, but also very smartly played from Luis Rezia.
On the rev limiter there, explain.
It's basically a limiter that sets you at 8,600 RPM. That's your engine can't rev any further past that, and it basically makes sure that the engine wear isn't too excessive.
It's all about guessing on the gearing, getting the right gearing so you don't hit that rev limiter.
It exactly is, because as soon as you hit that rev limiter, it's like hitting the brick wall. You just stop accelerating, and especially in these cars, once you hit what's called the hard limiter, you really stop accelerating, and that's when you can lose the draft.
Well, these front 5 are going to be racing, and beyond that, they're also back in the chase. Back in the 6th position, Juan Pablo Garcia is starting to make a little bit of noise. Rezia trying to catch up with Brabham into turn 1, not that time.
And if you want to talk about veterans, Gabby Chavez is known as a veteran here, but Juan Pablo Garcia is even more so, has competed here a number of times and has got so much experience with these cars on the super speedways. He could be a dark horse in this race. He didn't exactly have the qualifying that he'd hoped for, but he told me the car is good in traffic. That's the only thing that matters.
4 times Juan Pablo Garcia has raced here in the Freedom 100. The most is Wade Cunningham, 6 times, and he's won it 3 times. We're on board with Luis Rezia.
As we see some 2 wide action there coming out of turn 4. Everyone are keeping it surprisingly clean here. Last year we saw people almost trying to kill each other on the opening laps even, but they're playing it a bit more respectful here. But, you know, it could be very well be the calm before the storm here.
Harvey to the inside, side by side with Chavez. Harvey on the low side as Chavez nearly getting into the wall.
Wow, that is impressive stuff. They're being able to hold it together. As you can see there, when Harvey is squeezed to the inside of the track, he loses a bit of momentum because he's forced to take a tighter radius in the corner, and it just tightens the car up ever so slightly. As we see 3 wide now going into turn 3. Zach Veach is going to be smart there and just pull in and stay in 3rd for now.
And Luis Rezia is back to the front.
We are seeing exactly what we thought this race was going to be, just lead change after lead change, and a big pack of cars running with each other. We're 7 laps into this, but I don't think we've seen the best of it yet.
And now Brabham will take a look going into turn number 1 in the blue and white United Fiber and Data car. Matthew Brabham is back in the lead at Indianapolis. Well, we thought this might be a precursor for the Indianapolis 500. Certainly, we expect more of the same coming up on Sunday. We've got a good one going here. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. Matthew Brabham leads at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's race weekend in Indianapolis, 2 days away from the 98th running of the 500, the greatest weekend in motorsports. And we are in the Freedom 100 Indy Lights race. Just a moment ago, before we went to break, look at this. Zach Veach and Gabby Chavez splitting Luis Rezia.
And Rezia losing another spot there. There's teammate Jack Harvey. Just a good example of how to lose momentum. He came out of turn 2 a little bit too narrow, not in Matthew Brabham's draft here right now, and just gets freight trained. this is part of his learning experience right now. He is a rookie to ovals, and he'll be learning a heck of a lot right now.
Some of these other young drivers at least have the oval experience on the shorter ovals in USF 2000 and Pro Mazda, but coming from Europe, he does not have that. And the pole sitter now, Luis Rizia, who came in only 4 points behind Zach Veach in the championship, is now running in 5th, but he's still in great shape. You just want to stay with his lead pack, and you still have just as good a chance as anyone to win.
And I'm also pretty confident that the Schmidt-Peterson crew are telling him right now, just play it cool, just learn the first half of the race. Where can I run? Where can I place myself? You know, he's got to be smart here with how he positions himself in this area, as we see Chase Austin here. Chase as well, first Indy Lights race of the year for him. He's a very experienced stock car guy, so he's certainly no rookie to ovals overall, but hasn't done a lot of Indy Lights action. But he's still staying with the pack here and doing a fine job.
Chase Austin has been in the last 3, now 4 straight Freedom 100s. He's done a couple of other Indy Lights races, but he's essentially a one-off, like we see a few in the Indianapolis 500. 24 years old from Kansas. Chase Austin is doing a nice job. He ran competitively yesterday. This is a tall task to step in and do it. He's with a good team.
He is with a great team in Bilardi Auto Racing, and he's also supporting the Un-AIDS campaign, which is a campaign for zero AIDS across the world. So great to see him supporting such a worthy campaign.
Matthew Brabham is our leader.
And at this point, we're going to see here Zach Veach just taking a look at the inside of Matthew Brabham. These guys have played it smart so far. They've been playing good teammates, but I bet you in about another 15 laps or so, they're not going to be so nice teammates anymore.
Well, they had a couple of run-ins in the road course weekend here a couple of weeks ago.
They did indeed, and there are some rumors around the paddock that they aren't exactly the best of friends at the moment. I don't have confirmation on that, but I can certainly understand if you are 2 teammates, you essentially have the same equipment. You have all the same resources, so the only difference between the 2 of you is going to be your talent and execution, and man, they are pushing hard here right now. Zach Veach taking advantage of his oval experience, which is vast compared to that of Matthew Brabham.
I think the rear wing was underneath the gearbox at that point, and Veach backed out a little bit behind his teammate. Fantastic racing so far at Indianapolis. Veach, Brabham, Chavez, Harvey, and Rizia.
This is great as we see some 2-wide action there between Juan Piedrahita and Juan Pablo Garcia a little bit further back in the pack. They are still staying with it, and they still have a shot to win this. As soon as the leaders start fighting, typically what happens is you bunch everyone up. They slow down, they're going 2 wide, 3 wide, they lose momentum, but then the other ones have a chance to catch up.
Well, joining us now in the booth is a former winner of this race, Joseph Newgarden, as we watch another attempt to change the lead, and it's a 2-way train. And Zach Veach may come out in 3rd as Gabby Chavez tries to go with Matthew Brabham. 2 wide through the short chute for 2nd position. Veach on the high side, Chavez on the low side. They come very close, and Chase Austin has made heavy contact back in the pack.
That is a vicious hit for Chase Austin. It looks like he's moving in the car, so that is very good news indeed. But that was a really big hit. I really hope he's okay there. That's just another one of those when you're running so tight, you're doing 200 miles an hour, and big crashes can happen, and that is indeed what happened just now.
So this is the south end. Chase Austin between turns 1 and 2. And the safety team is always immediately on the scene to help the driver. Look at that machine.
That has just been completely split in half, and I'm just hoping and praying that Chase is okay there. That's the only concern we have at this point in time. Looks like he hit the inside wall there between 1 and 2, and that is the last place you want to hit. And it looks like he actually hit the tires before where the safer barrier starts. Hopefully we'll get a replay, but obviously again our thoughts now initially are with Chase Austin.
We're going to hold off on replays for just a moment and wait for positive news on Chase Austin. We're under caution at Indianapolis. This is Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. The Verizon IndyCar Series pit stop competition is still to come this afternoon. Part of 30 hours of motorsports coverage on NBCSN, and a special NASCAR America coming up at 4 today will also include reports here from Indianapolis, from Monaco, and of course from Charlotte as they get set for the 600 on Sunday nights. Whether he's injured or not, it's going to take a while to extricate him because of so much damage to the car, and they will take every precaution just in case.
And the good thing in all this is that the Halmatro safety crew are so well trained. They come to all the Verizon IndyCar races and also the Indy Lights races. They know exactly what happened. And we could see tires rolling around, and the Halmatro crew was already pulling up to the incident scene. It just shows how quick they are to the scene, and they are the best people in the business.
All right, we'll have an update coming up in just a moment. Stay with us. We're under caution. Matthew Brabham is the leader of the Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Nearing the midpoint of the Freedom 100, Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Under caution. Lap 17 of 40. Matthew Brabham is the leader, but we have had a vicious crash involving Chase Austin, bringing out the first yellow on the south end between turns 1 and 2. Let's take a look at it. This is on board with Chase Austin.
Oh, he is just wicked loose through that corner. I mean, he did a great job hanging on to it for as long as he did. Oh, he is just
almost saved it.
Chasing that car. That is, oh, this is going to be a big one.
And we lost the signal right before he made impact.
Oh, that is just the worst possible impact right there. That is a bad, bad hit. I, again, really hope that Chase is okay after that.
He's out of the car. The Homacho safety team is still working with him on the scene. Jake Query is headed to the medical center, so he'll get an update in a moment. Maybe the tires help just a bit there. In a very difficult angle, the rear of the car, the front of the car destroyed. With Chase Austin.
Yeah, he just hits at the worst possible angle there, right where the safer barrier and the tire barrier kind of come together. So it really is just the worst spot on the track you can probably hit.
Well, we won't bother speculating. We'll wait for reports from the infield medical center on Chase Austin in just a moment. I'm Kevin Lee. Anders Krohn is with me. And also, Indianapolis 500 starter and 2011 Indy Lights champion, Josef Newgarden, who won this race that year, joins us in the booth. Well, every racing driver has dealt with it. If you're in this race, how are you dealing with this at this point as you're driving by and seeing one of your coworkers being attended to there on the track?
Well, the difficulty about this is that they're not going to be getting updates on this. They're going to be focused on the race. And as a driver, you have to stay in that mentality. You have no idea what's happening around you. You know there's a wreck that's happened, but your focus is going back to green and what you need to do on the next restart. So these guys aren't going to be thinking about it necessarily. They're hoping everyone's all right, but they're so focused on their job right now that they cannot distract themselves with thinking about the wreck.
So the cleanup is going to be a lengthy one here today for Chase Austin. We're not quite to the halfway point. And when we go back green, it is expected to be more of the same of what we've had, because it has been fantastic racing so far. So now we're praying for Chase Austin and making sure and looking for a good report from Jake Query in the next few minutes that all is well. Well, to the weekend itself, while we have Josef Newgarden up here, let's talk a little bit about your IndyCar. You just had an opportunity for the final practice session here, getting set to race on Sunday. What did you get out of Carb Day?
Carb Day is a tricky one because I think you can really put yourself sideways with thought processes. Everyone can get confused. Sometimes it's a good thing because you don't get confused. You think your car is great. You go into Sunday very positive. And sometimes you leave at the end of this day scrambling. You think, oh, no, we got to turn the car all upside down now for Sunday. The one thing I noticed was I had a big problem getting in today. There was too many fans.
That's good.
I just about missed the drivers' meeting. I mean, it was unbelievable how many people are out here. But it's one of those days where you don't want to psych yourself out. You want to try and get everything you need done with the car, but you don't want to overthink it too much before Sunday.
And Joseph, on the Friday before the race, how hard do you really push? Do you go out there and really figure out how can I manage the traffic, or do you hold back just those extra 5–10%?
You know, part of what you're doing is you don't want to wreck the car. You don't want to put yourself in risk before the big day. Obviously, that would be the worst case scenario, is to wreck the car before Sunday, and you got to completely reconstruct it. You don't want that to happen, but at the same time, you have to be able to race on Sunday flat out all day long. So I think testing the car on Friday is something that everyone tries to do. So for us, we were evaluating as much as we could without putting the car at risk.
Well, it's been a fun weekend so far. The atmosphere has been great, and we look forward to what we'll see coming up on Sunday. Your third time at this. How much different does it feel each year?
I think you become more at ease each year. It's a very difficult race from a pressure standpoint. It's so difficult when you see the crowd on Sunday. You've thought about the 2 weeks put into it, all the work, all the team that's done everything for you, the engineers, the mechanics. There's a lot put into this for this one day. So I think the pressure is very easy to get into your head. And for me, I think that becomes easier. So for coming into the third year, I feel a lot more comfortable. I understand how the race is going to flow. And I think we're going to have a good car. So I'm excited for Sunday, and I'm just happy I have those 2 years' experience to lean on.
Josef Newgarden from Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing is joining us in the booth, along with Anders Krohn. I'm Kevin Lee. Anders, let's shift gears and talk about something that the folks in the Mazda Road to Indy and also Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires very excited about. It's the brand new 2015 Dallara, and that was unveiled here yesterday.
The brand new car is going to be just absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to see a whole new generation of Indy Lights cars, and it really is going to provide a lot of action, I think.
I love the final product. I mean, it's a sexy race car. It's light, it's faster. We were looking forward to the testing and next season.
That's Dan Anderson, who took over operations of Indy Lights. After last season, he had been running the first 2 steps on the Monster Road to Indy ladder in Anderson Promotions. You know, one thing I think that can help, and Joseph, you can speak to this as a driver when you're trying to get that opportunity. It's a small thing, but the seats are going to be transferable from the Indy Lights car to take over to an Indy car. So that's, what, a couple of $1,000 that can save you for short notice to get in if somebody wants to test you.
Absolutely. All the little things make it a little bit easier for that transition. And, you know, Indy Lights is the feeder ground to IndyCar. So you want it to be as close as possible. You want that to be very familiar to the drivers. When they get out of an Indy Lights car, they jump into an Indy car. You want that training ground to be as close as possible. And I think that's what they're trying to do, just bridge the gap a little bit. I actually had a chance to sit in the Indy Lights car as they were trying to model the shaping of the cockpit and everything that you see out of it. I'm actually really excited and a little bit jealous. I'm jealous that they're getting a new
weekend so far. The atmosphere so far. So far. So so far, the atmosphere has been great, and we years
to lean on.
Joseph Newgarden from Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing is joining us in the booth along with Anders Krohn. I'm Kevin Lee. Anders, let's shift gears and talk about something that the folks in the Mazda Road to Indy and also Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires very excited about. It's the brand new 2015 Dallara, and that was unveiled here yesterday.
The brand new car is going to be just absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to see a whole new generation of Indy Lights cars, and it really is going to provide a lot of action, I think.
I love the final product. I mean, it's a sexy race car. It's light, it's faster. We were looking forward to the testing and next season.
That's Dan Anderson, who took over operations of Indy Lights. After last season, he had been running the first 2 steps on the Mazda Road to Indy ladder in Anderson Promotions. You know, one thing I think that can help, and Joseph, you can speak to this as a driver when you're trying to get that opportunity. It's a small thing, but the seats are going to be transferable from the Indy Lights car to take over to an Indy car. So that's, what, a couple of $1,000 that can save you for short notice to get in if somebody wants to test you.
Absolutely. All the little things make it a little bit easier for that transition. And, you know, Indy Lights is the feeder ground to IndyCar. So you want it to be as close as possible. You want that to be very familiar to the drivers. When they get out of an Indy Lights car, they jump into an Indy car. You want that training ground to be as close as possible. And I think that's what they're trying to do, just bridge the gap a little bit. I actually had a chance to sit in the Indy Lights car as they were trying to model the shaping of the cockpit and everything that you see out of it. I'm actually really excited and a little bit jealous. I'm jealous that they're getting a new car right now because I think it could be even a little bit cooler than the Indy car right now, which is awesome to say. So the Indy Lights car is going to be super impressive, I would think.
It's going to be on track at some point this summer and in the States, mid-Ohio, right after the Indy car race. All right, great crowd. We're waiting to get this one restarted for the Freedom 100 in Indianapolis. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Carb Day. The lights are off on the pace car. We are beginning to get set to go racing again. Working on lap 23 of 40 for the Freedom 100 Indy Lights race. The yellow for a crash for Chase Austin, a very violent crash. He's at the infield medical center. As soon as we have information, we will pass it along on Chase Austin. It's Matthew Brabham, Zach Veach, Gabby Chavez, Jack Harvey, Luis Rizia, Juan Pablo Garcia, Juan Piedrahita, Alex Barron, Scott Anderson, and Zach Meyer. That is the field, single file, as they come out of turn number 4, back onto the main straightaway, and we are racing again at Indianapolis.
Looks like a really good jump from Matthew Brabham. Usually the leader can never get away and usually gets overtaken into turn 1, but he had a great jump there. Gabby Chavez now looking around the outside. That is an aggressive move for him. He wants to go to the front because he thinks he has the car to beat.
Chavez lost last year by 6 inches. The outside pass sticks on Zach Veach, and now Chavez looking to the outside again on the leader, Matthew Brabham, as they head down to 3. On board with Brabham. Chavez has the momentum, and Gabby Chavez is to the front, and Zach Veach will go with him.
Very interesting to see here that Chavez chose the outside for his pass. He clearly has something figured out here with either freeing the car up or whatever that is, but the outside move seems to be working as we see Brabham lost all sorts of momentum there with that double pass.
Back in the pack, we've got some action as well. And Chavez started to clear a little bit, but immediately Veach gets back within a car length.
And here we have Veach and Chavez, yet again, the 2 championship contenders that we talked about again and again on each broadcast. They're now running with each other, and let's hope they can keep it clean this time.
I mentioned that Chavez lost this race last year by a few inches, but the team did win. Peter Dempsey was in a car for Bilardi Auto Racing. Chavez was with Schmidt last year.
Exactly. So Chavez has stepped into Peter Dempsey's old ride from last year and probably hoping that that's going to give him some good karma here. Certainly right now looking like he's very, very strong.
Back in the 5th position, there we see him just coming into the camera in the white and red cars. We take a look at Zach Veach running right behind Gabby Chavez. Rizia is still within reach. He's the pole sitter and led early. He told me yesterday the car didn't work as well as I wanted to in traffic, and that's what he's dealing with right now. He thought Jack Harvey's car worked better. He's going to try to get a little bit of information from them.
And usually this team will be fully transparent with all the information that they're running across each other. As we know, Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports have won this race 7 times, including with one of our gentlemen right here alongside us, Joseph Newgarden. So they have the knowledge to get it done. However, the drivers are rookies to super speedways, and it may just take them a little while to understand completely how do you race on an oval. As we see right now, we have 2 veterans out front, and Gabby Chavez and Zach Veach. They have raced here before. They know what the game is all about. The only new thing to them this year is the Cooper tire.
Joseph, what is this like? Nose to tail, separated by about 2 feet through each corner.
The whole name of the game here is staying up front. And for me, when I ran in 2011, staying up front was the most important thing to do. Gabby Chavez, to me, is the guy to watch right now. Last year, I picked him to win, and he was oh so close because, like Anders was saying, that outside pass is really crucial around here. If you can make the lights car work on the high side, it's very effective. And Chavez seems to have something figured out that no one else can really make work. And for me, that's going to be the most interesting thing to watch at the end.
And do you, Joseph, when you're on track, do you have a certain driver that you want to trust, that you feel like, hey, I can actually run side by side with him? And then conversely, do you have drivers that you can't run side by side with that you're a little bit afraid of?
Absolutely. And what these guys are doing right now are sizing each other up. So as you get through this race, 20, 25 laps in, you've learned the process from everyone around you, and you hope to figure out who you want next to you at the end of the race and who you don't want next to you. And all these guys are trying to figure that out right now.
And I certainly know that when you and I raced against each other in the Freedom 100 a few years back, there was this level of safety feeling for me in that, hey, we're racing hard, but we're not going to try and kill each other.
Absolutely. You want to be able to trust the guy next to you. And as a driver, you can somewhat help that situation where you can try and mimic and put a guy where you want him at the end. Chavez is pretty good at that. He's very good at drafting. He knows where to place people where he wants them.
That red car is Alex Barron, the 2nd Bilardi Auto Racing car. He has been racing with Juan Pablo Garcia. They've gone side by side through the corners a little bit. Back up front, there's the leader, Gabby Chavez. Zach Veach taking another look to the inside as they head down to turn 1.
Zach Veach right now is trying to time it up here. He's trying to see, can I get to the front before the yard of bricks? If he can do that, then he knows he has the position, he has the advantage, and that's how he can play the race out from then. He can plan around getting drafted on the back side of the track, but then getting the lead back on the front section of the track. So very smart what Zach Veach is doing here right now.
Great point. It doesn't seem likely that you can get a run as Brabham goes to the inside of Chavez now, and he'll take a look at his teammate. 2 cars in 1 corner. Matthew Brabham goes from 3rd to 1st.
And it just comes to show you how big that double draft is here. You get that run on someone, and especially here, it looks like Matthew Brabham and his engineers have figured out the gearing just right, so that when he sucks up in that air, he can pull that last gear and just suck right by.
Matthew Brabham got his first Indy Lights win a couple of weeks ago on the road course. He has been a superstar in the making for many years. He was born in Florida. He's lived in Australia. He is the grandson of Sir Jack Brabham, who passed away this week. And Matthew Brabham has dominated in the first 2 steps of the Mazda Road to Indy ladder. What, 14 of the 17 races last year at Pro Mazda, and Anders, he's taking to the Indy Lights car now.
And talk about the Mazda Road to Indy ladder and how that works. He came into USF 2000 from Australian Formula Ford, having raced that, came into USF 2000 powered by Mazda, won that, got a scholarship from Mazda to move up to Pro Mazda. He won that, dominated actually, then moved up to Indy Lights with the help of Mazda yet again. So it really comes to show the level of commitment Mazda have to the Mazda Road to Indy. And most of these drivers have a lot of thank you to say to Mazda for helping them out in their careers.
Luis Rizia, we saw the Lucas Oil car get a position back. The early leader, the pole sitter, is back in the 4th position, and Jack Harvey has slipped back to 5th.
Now we see a pretty big separation here, but the impressive thing to me so far is how well these Cooper tires have held up. There's been some level of uncertainty as to how well the car's going to race here. Obviously, they're new to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They have a very, very wide history of making good tires, but they've never been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway before on the oval. So this is impressive. It shows that the tire can race well, and it's only going to get better.
5 cars separated by less than 1/10 of a second. Wow.
You just hear Brabham on the limiter there, and it's interesting, the gear selection. It's so crucial around this place, and I wonder who's got it figured out the best. But still, to me, Chavez is the guy to watch here.
So what are you thinking right now? If you are Gabby Chavez right now, what is your thought process?
Well, you're right on the uncertainty right now because these tires are so new and no one actually knows what's going to happen at the end of this race and where they're going to fall off. So far, it looks incredible. It looks like they can follow close. It seems like they can stay relatively in the same pack together. Very similar to last year. This looks like it's shaping up to the race last year, and that was an amazing finish 4 wide. So I don't know exactly where you need to be placed because I'm not sure with this new tire, but I think Gabby's getting a good idea right here of just staying in third and trying to time where he needs to be at the end.
Each taking a look again. Chavez will take a look behind him. No change this time through. That was a big question coming in. New tires, first time on the oval. Luis Rizia said, you know, when we came here and tested, I had some concerns, but now with some rubber on the track, he said he did long runs yesterday, including a 36-lap run, which is also almost the full length of the race, and is going to be more than the green flag laps we will do. He said the tires were great, just as good at the end of the run as the beginning, so he had no concerns.
And that's really been the trait of the Cooper tire so far this year. That's what everyone have been saying on the road courses as well. The tire doesn't drop off as bad as the Firestone used to. So this tire really does seem to hold up quite well, and obviously, as we're seeing here, it does provide great racing. Now, I want to look again at Gabby Chavez. He is keeping some distance, and I'm wondering if that is on purpose or whether he just can't quite stay with the Andretti Autosport cars of Zach Veach and Matthew Brabham.
You know what looked interesting was the slingshot, though. When we saw Brabham slingshot from third to first, he seemed to be able to do that no problem coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. And I wonder if Gabby's thinking that's the place to be, because last year, that's where he wanted to place himself. He put himself in third. He thought that was the winning move, and it darn near was almost. So I wonder if that's the place to be as third for the end of this race.
And I'm also pretty confident here that if they do come to the line 3 wide, he's going to go a little bit further to the right and make sure that there's no Peter Dempsey going on his outside.
He's going to make sure to close it off. Exactly.
Well, the 2 up front are teammates. We're on board here with Luis Rizia. No, I'm sorry, that's the back of Matthew Brabham's car, and now Chavez looking to the outside of Veach, and Chavez barely makes it stick.
Oh, that was a chop and a half right there. That was very aggressive driving from Chavez. And you can see immediately Zach Veach lost some ground there because he probably had to lift out of the throttle to reduce that aero wash that you get that puts you up towards the wall. And now Chavez might very well have the race in his pocket right now. He's very aggressive. He knows where to place himself from his knowledge from last year, and this could be his race to win at this point.
You know, Rizia and Harvey are kind of the new guys in the block, too. They haven't really had any oval experience yet. Coming from Europe from last year, never really been to America to race before. And these guys up front have been in the Mazda Road to Indy for a couple years now. They understand the system. I wonder if these 2 guys in 4th and 5th are going to be able to topple them. Maybe they know something a little bit better and just hanging back right now.
All 3 in that front pack have won races this year. Brabham already this month. Veach and Chavez have won a pair each. Chavez also had a race win last year, but lost this one by 6 inches.
He is not going to want to lose that again, and he will fight till the bitter end to make sure that that race win is his this year. He knows he has the car behind him. He's had a very strong car on the road courses and the street circuit so far, and obviously right now he is showing his pace as we see Luis Rizia and Jack Harvey fighting it out there for that 5th position.
Rizia maintains 4th for the moment. His teammate Harvey giving it a look. The front 5 have separated. 3 more racing together in the back. Let's take a look at this again. On board with Brabham, we're watching the red car. That's Gabby Chavez.
So he does the classical move there, goes to the outside, gets a bit of clean air, that gives him better grip throughout the corner, and then he just chops down on Veach. And you
move
can
over,
see
coming down.
Immediately, as Veach tucks in behind, you can see his car move up just half a car width. That is from aero wash. A lot of turbulent air being created by the car in front of you that makes you lose downforce, which is grip.
Harvey is going to try his teammate Rizia again. Side by side, doesn't have enough to get it on the low side. Rizia hangs on to the spot. But those 2 are going to lose those front 3 if they continue in this manner.
It just looks like you lose a bit of momentum if you go down to the low side.
Let's go down to the medical center now and hear from Jake Query.
At the Indiana University Health Medical Center here, the Emergency Medical Center, Chase Austin has been released. He is being transported now to Methodist Hospital, but he is awake and alert. He did suffer a fracture to his left wrist, but the good news is Chase Austin is awake and alert. He is being transported from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Never want to hear about someone breaking a bone, but all things considered, with the uncertainty, fantastic news for Chase Austin.
You know, that is a great sigh of relief here as we have just over two laps remaining here in this race. I mean, now we can really focus on the racing, knowing that he is somewhat okay. He's being transported to be seen by some of the best doctors in the country, and now we can get back down to it here as we see Gabby Chavez and Zach Veach. This is what we've talked about. These 2 guys are fighting it out for the championship. They are not liking each other very much right now.
And keep an eye on that white and red car back there. That's Rizia on the low side of his teammate Harvey. Still, 5 drivers have an opportunity to win here at Indianapolis. Matthew Brabham, the grandson of the legendary Sir Jack Brabham, who revolutionized the rear engine cars here at Indianapolis in '61, and his dad, Jeff Brabham, drove here 10 times and finished as high as 4th. Look at this, Veach and Chavez. Chavez in the red car.
Oh, they are just showing each other up at this point. They're telling each other, basically, hey, no, I'm the man. I'm the guy who's going to get this. And at this point, I think we're in for a crazy finish here. Another crazy finish in the Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The white flag is shown. 2.5 miles to go. At least 5 drivers still in the mix. Veach to the outside of Brabham. Chavez to the inside in turn number 1. Nearly go 3 wide. And the 2 nearly touch, battling for 2nd and 3rd. Veach gets to 2nd.
Oh, but Veach lost ground there to Matthew Brabham. The question is, can Matthew hold this off now by breaking the draft ever so slightly? Look at this. He's going to go all the way down to the bottom side here, trying to break that draft to make sure that no one can get him. As we see Jack Harvey fighting it out as well on board with him. Brabham looks like he has it right now.
2 more turns to go, side by side for 2nd. Chavez on the outside, Veach on the inside. Brabham is the leader in the blue and white car. Matthew Brabham trying to hold off. 1 more corner to go. Gabby Chavez has a run. He lost by 6 inches last year. Chavez to the outside, side by side at the line. It is Gabby Chavez wins the Freedom 100 in Indianapolis by about a foot. 2 years in a row here.
Gabby Chavez, what a well-timed draft there. It looked like he didn't have it, but then he did. That is just spectacular.
It's Chavez, Brabham, Veach, Razia, and Harvey. The front 4 separated by 0.2 of a second. The unofficial difference is 5/1000ths of a second.
And how about this? Bilardi Auto Racing. They got their first win in Indy Lights here last year. Coming back, they are becoming the kings of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Let's watch it again. Is this not the first lap that Gabby Chavez led?
This might very well happen, and he timed it to absolute perfection. As we see Luis Garcia as well. He wants that 3rd spot, not able to get it, but that is the best time draft I have seen in a while. And you know what? He gets redemption here from last year.
He did lead laps earlier in the race. Brabham is doing all he can. This is on board with Brabham.
At this point, there's nothing Brabham could have done except just hold on and keep his foot wooded, which is exactly what he did. And boy, what a finish. I can barely believe we saw such a close finish yet again.
And I wonder if that limiter just came into play there. You heard Brabham hit the limiter, and that seemed to just slow him just enough so Gabby could get a foot on him.
Exactly, so crucial here. Every little bit at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is crucial in getting the car right, not just with the balance of the car, but as you say, with the gearing as well.
So unofficially right now, it looks like Veach and Chavez are tied for the championship, but that doesn't matter right now. Gabby Chavez is at victory lane at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to hear from the winner and more coming up in just a moment. And back to IndyCar with the pit stop competition. Stay with us for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on NBCSN. Well, last year, Gabby Chavez, and in our pre-race show, said losing this hurts so much. He lost by 6 inches. This time around, he wins by, well, that's a good 2-3 feet. Last year, point 0026, 26 10,000ths. This year, the difference, 5,000ths of a second. Another fantastic finish in Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here is the unofficial final tally of the Freedom 100. Chavez, Brabham, Veach, Razia, and Harvey. The top 5 down to victory lane with Jake Query.
For the 2nd straight year, the Freedom 100 comes down to the last line before the Yard of Bricks. And Bilardi Autosport wins again, this time in the form of Gabby Chavez. And Gabby, congratulations. I guess after last year, you thought, I like those close finishes, but I'm not going to have the same result this time.
Oh, man, being in the number 5 car this year, which is the one that beat me last year, now I know how he did it. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy for the team. We had a rough weekend last race here in Indy, and to bounce back with a win in the biggest race of the season, nothing better.
Okay, so you say you know how Dempsey did it a year ago, and you know how Gabby Chavez did it this year. So tell us all, how did both of you do it? Take me through that pass.
Oh, man, I was just in the right moment, in the right position. I tried getting around Zach for second, I think with 2 or 3 laps to go. I tried to position myself to get around Matt in the last lap. And Zach had a good counterattack, so I just said, you know what, I got to go for both of them on the last lap. It's gonna have to happen just on the last lap. And I was able to pull it off. Man, I was sawing at the wheel those last 2 corners because, you know, the outside of this track doesn't have that much grip. But I'm so happy. I'm so happy for the team. You know, Bilardi Auto Racing they got me in the car this year, and they deserve this as much as I do.
When you pulled in, I noticed that you kissed your hands and pointed to the sky about 5 different times while you pulled in to celebrate. What did go through your mind, realizing you're a winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Oh, man, it's just, you know, with the rough last weekend, race weekend that we had here, I just realized that I let the results get to me. I let my passion be driven by results and not by the love for the sport and how happy I am when I drive a car. And this weekend, I told my engineer, I told the whole team, you know, we got to come in here and, most important, we got to have fun. We got to have fun and work hard, and that's just going to deliver the results. And I'm so happy, you know, I put my faith, you know, in the man upstairs, and I'm happy he came through with me.
Why don't you look upstairs right here? You're at Victory Lane at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Gabby Chavez, the winner of the Freedom 100, the Firestone, or the Indy Lights, excuse me, presented by Cooper Tires.
How cool is that? Victory Lane in Indianapolis. Gabby Chavez was born in Columbia. He has spent most of his life in the Florida area in Fort Lauderdale. He is just 20 years old, and there is the photo finish. Gabby Chavez wins for the 3rd time this season. And let's take a look at the championship now, because it is tight, and obviously it could not be any tighter at the top. Chavez and Veach are even, but Chavez has the advantage for the moment with 3 race wins to 2 race wins for Veach. Razia has already won this season. He is still very much in the mix, just 7 back, and Jack Harvey and Matthew Brabham are still lurking. As good as this was, it is unofficially still only the 3rd closest finish in Indy Lights history. Nothing is, I don't think, ever going to top Chicagoland 2007, when Logan Gomez won by Alex Loido by 5 10,000ths of a second, and last year, obviously, 26 10,000ths of a second with Peter Dempsey. Well, fantastic. Indy Lights is off for a little while until July at Pocono for race number 8 of 14. The day is not nearly done here. 30 hours of coverage on NBCSN of motorsports this weekend for the greatest weekend in motorsports, and stay tuned for the pit stop competition. Thank you, Joseph Newgard, for coming in. Good luck this weekend. Anders Krohn as well. For Jake Query and Jan Beekes, I'm Kevin Lee. Bob Varsha and the IndyCar crew coming up again in just a moment as Carb Day continues from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.